Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. For more information on advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And today we have a friend of the show and a friend of mine, Rob Garland, back with us. I interviewed Rob quite a while back, and he's a great guy, super cool player, really bright musician and a teacher, and does all sorts of cool stuff. Just tell you a little bit about Rob's background, and then I want to talk to you about some new music Rob's putting out. And he graduated from Christ Church College in the UK with a bachelor's degree in music and radio in radio, film, and television. He moved to the US in '99. He studied with jazz great Jimmy Bruno. Growing up in England, he worked with a diverse array of bands, performed on the London college circuit, and later played hundreds of gigs at festivals and clubs in the U.S. with his group, Rob Garland and the Blue Monks, opening for artists like B.B. King, Chuck Berry, and Booker T. The band attained airplay on international radio and TV stations, releasing several CDs of original music. In 2018, Rob joined the faculty at Musicians Institute, Hollywood, California, as a guitar instructor. After being featured in numerous guitar magazines, his first instructional book was published by Cherry Lane back in 2007, which led him to working for True Fire, where he's released full-length instructional courses on topics such as the caged chord system, pentatonic and major scale, songwriting, and chord tones. Rob teaches private lessons through the True Fire platform. He runs an artist channel on Babylon, and he writes articles for Riff Journal, in addition to hosting live YouTube sessions and creating instructional courses for True Fire. He also teaches private lessons through Skype and at his studio in LA. He's currently playing with his fusion power trio, which is called Rob Garland's Eclectic Trio, and his jazz band called Catatonic. He's performed sessions at LA studios such as Revolver and the Village Recorder, and co-written music for Bad Robot. He continues to write, record, and release original music ranging in genre from jazz and rock instrumentals to acoustic vocals and folk, currently available on pretty much every digital platform around. In September 2018, Rob was honored to perform and jam with legendary guitarist Steve Vai at the Big Mama Jama Jamathon in Hollywood, California. And he's worked with musicians such as Jimmy Haslip from the Yellow Jackets, Andy Sinisi, who plays with Scott Henderson, Tony Newton from Gary Moore's band, Mick Stevens from Brand X, and Gus Thornton, who played with Albert King. Rob's endorsed by Bogner Amplification, Exotic Guitars, Kurt Mangan Strings, Chicken Picks, and Moody Leather Straps, and he's influenced by everyone from Joni Mitchell to Frank Zappa. And we're going to talk about some cool music Rob's got out today. Rob, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig. It's really, really nice to be back. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, my man. Man, you put out a bunch of new singles. What prompted you to release them? And are they all originals, or talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, all the music that I put out, I put 4 new songs out over the course of the last year, and then a couple before that, and they're all original. I'm basically always writing. I have a very busy life with lessons and band work and being a dad and all those kind of things. But I'm always writing music, and sometimes it takes a while to get them where I want them, and sometimes you just sort of chip away at them. So yeah, they're all original and just stuff I've been working on for a little while.
Very cool, man. One thing that I thought was cool is, the names of some of these songs are kind of interesting, and we'll talk about them. They're called Bayard Stomp, Houdang, Lead, Meat Beat, and Nuada on the one. That's like a tongue twister. As an instrumentalist, I know naming songs is difficult, to say the least. Is there a special way you come up with some of the names, or do you have wheels that you spin or something? Or
yeah, I just like things that sound silly. Really. No. It's funny. Sometimes when the song starts to emerge, a title just sort of falls out the air because it creates a certain mood or something. And other times I have something in mind, a concept. I seem to have this fascination with mythologies from different countries. And Bayard Stomp, for example, Bayard was now go with me on this, Craig, French magical horse.
Hold on a minute. It's a French, I got to write this out because I won't retain this. A French magical horse.
Yeah, and the horse could adapt its size to whichever rider was riding it. So they say, in France.
Wow.
So, and for no reason whatsoever, when I came up with that song, it just, I just envisaged this horse kind of dancing around to it. So that was it, and once I had that thought, there was no going back, really,
How could there be?
How could there be? Yeah. I have another song that my trio performs live, Dance of the Satyr or Satyr, depending where you're from. And that's the again, half horse, half man, sometimes half goat, half man, from Greek mythology. So that one also, there's a theme here.
Do you like horses in general? Because horses are very nice creatures.
Very nice. Yeah. I haven't really had that much interaction with them, but I do like them. Did
they have this show? I mean, this is totally irrelevant. I'm probably getting out of control here. Did they have this show when you grew up in England called Mr. Ed?
Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
Was that in England?
It was. I mean, it wasn't super popular, but I'm aware of it. So yeah.
I always ask my wife about these shows, because she's from the UK, and some of them she knows, some of them she doesn't. So I don't know that they regionalize it. Like only the real popular cities in England got to see Mr. Ed or something. I don't know. Sorry, just getting out of control here. Okay, so Bayard, French magical horse. Where did you record this? Like, I know you're pretty sharp on recording and mixing and mastering.
I like to do all that myself when I can. But the interesting thing, so Bayard Stomp and Lead Meat Bat were recorded live at Revolver Studios in Thousand Oaks, California. And the reason being that the drummer of my trio, Carl Thompson, works at that studio. And so he arranged a session for us. And we thought, well, those two songs, I sort of had two schools of thought with it. One, I was a huge fan of Queen growing up, and so I liked to overdub and really layer and do all that kind of thing. And then on the other side of that, I always appreciated, like Hendrix Band of Gypsies and the rawness of it. So I kind of wanted to record some stuff that was really live with no overdubs or anything like that. So those two songs, we basically set up as if we were at a gig. I put my amp in a isolation booth so I could turn it up painfully loud, and then we just played. And I think we did 2 or 3 takes of each of those songs, of Lead Meat Bat and Bayard Stomp. And the thing that's interesting about Bayard Stomp is the entire middle section of the song is improvised. So not just the solo, but the actual rhythm, groove, everything's improvised.
So were they different from version to version? Like
completely. The middle version. So what we had to do was, and quite a few months went by until we got back to the tracks because we were all super busy. And then we sent the files around to each other, and we all listened to the versions, and then we had to decide which of the improvised sections we liked, and that was the version we picked. So
that's so you were pretty democratic about this whole process.
Yeah. I basically asked them what they thought, and then I just decided, which one I was going to use anyway. No,
yeah, democracy.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
And I'm not, I have a hard time with live recordings, listening back to my own live recordings sometimes. So I really had to sort of give myself a good talking to and say, look, we're going to keep this. This is what happened on the day. And
because you're critical of your own performance.
Yeah.
I know you're pretty demanding,
but no, it was good, and Carl actually mixed those tracks as well. And usually I do all the mixing and everything, and I get really obsessive about that. So it's quite nice to have somebody else do that with those 2 tracks, and then the other 2 tracks I did all the mixing and everything on.
I bet you that you were a lot less critical of his mixing than it would have been of your own, even if it would have been the same product.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was actually very democratic as well. He sent the files around to us, and we would say, oh, can you do this to that? Or, so yeah, it was, those guys we're all really good friends. So,
that's cool, man.
So that's Carl Thompson on drums and Austin Underhill on bass. And that's my eclectic trio. So that's those 2 tracks,
And the other 2, where were they recorded?
The other two, so Hoodang, I just did everything on that one myself. That's actually a program. I actually programmed the drums, played the bass, played all the guitar parts, and then I mixed it, mastered it, and did all that myself. So that one I just kind of built from the ground up. And the only thing I had in mind for a concept with that one, some of my older songs are 8-9 minutes long, and I wanted this one to be concise. That was the only thing. I wanted it to be a bit of a guitars in your face kind of song, because I like being completely out of fashion at all times, and so I just wanted it to be really concise. So I tried to keep it 3 minutes or whatever it is, which for me is ridiculously short.
That is very short.
Yeah, that was the point of that. So get in there, have some fun, get out.
You did it, man. 2:52.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
Really cool.
Yeah. And Hoodang is a sort of like a cultural folk word for like a raucous party. And to me, that song has that kind of feel. It's an upbeat swing to it. It's kind of fun. The guitar's kind of flying at you. At least that's what I was going for. So the word Hoodang popped into my head one day, and I went, "Oh yeah, that'll do." So
it's funny. American colloquialisms better than most Americans know American colloquialisms. It's pretty impressive there, Rob.
Yeah, that one took a long time to mix, though. It's funny, even though it's a short song, I layered a lot of stuff on it, and so it was one of those songs where I'd wake up at 4:00 in the morning and I go, I think I need to, adjust the bass tone, and then, there goes sleep that night. So,
well, that's because you did everything yourself on that one.
It's an affliction. But, yeah.
Do any of the songs have like a particular significance, meaning wise, or?
Not so much in terms of because they're instrumental, and the songs that have more of a deeper meaning for me are usually my vocal songs. I put 2 vocal songs out the previous year, an acoustic song called The Fool, which is basically written about my divorce, and another song called A Message Sent, which is sort of like coming out the other side of that and looking positively. So those were very personal songs for me. With the instrumentals, it's more about, I pour a lot of time and love into them, and I take them really, really seriously,
sure,
despite the silly titles. No, not a deep significance emotionally like the vocal songs tend to have. New Order on the One is really interesting though, because that was taken, the rhythm tracks were taken from a live show. And I was always fascinated the way Frank Zappa would record a gig, and he would take sometimes one part from one of the songs and then build a song around it. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, because that's the two sides of having performance and then the editing, overdubbing. So I took the song from a live show. My jazz group, Catatonic, played here in Studio City at a place called Vitello's. We just played the Baked Potato, and I really wanted to record that one, but we didn't get a chance to record that one because that was a kind of a big deal for me playing there. But anyway,
congratulations, man! That is a big deal.
Thank you. So we played Vitello's and we recorded it. We got a nice recording from it. So I took the basic tracks and I kind of rebuilt the song around the live tracks. So that's why it has kind of a live energy to it, I think, and that's why.
Yes, New Order on the One, absolutely. That song jams, man.
New Order. The reason I called that one New Order on the One, I wrote the chorus melody first, and I thought it had kind of a Celtic or Celtic feel to it. Probably all those years of listening to Thin Lizzy and Gary Moore, and so New Order was an Irish king.
Oh, okay.
Right? From 1800 BC or something, so I thought, well, it's got that sort of that Celtic feel to it, so that identifies that. And then the main verse sections or the A sections were a funk, and so
totally funky, yeah.
Yeah, and so James Brown always used to say "on the one," right, when he wanted his band to hit.
Yep.
So I mixed the Celtic with the funk, and that's where the title came from.
Very cool. That's cool, man. That's a good story.
Yeah.
What did you play the same guitar and amp throughout for all these tracks, or?
So I used I have two exotic XSC Strats. The first one I got when they were just about starting to build guitars. I got in really early with them, and it's number 17.
Well, that's cool.
And then my second one I got last year. And the serial, and yes, you can't choose the serial number. It just is what it is. The serial number is 666.
That's creepy, man. Holy shit. I'd be wanting to send that back, man.
No, to me, I feel like my playing's going to improve now because of that.
Because you're selling your soul to the devil.
I didn't need the soul anyway. It's all right. Yeah. So
that's
anyway,
wild.
So,
that is wild.
So the two eclectic trio tracks that we recorded live was my number 17 exotic, which is pink, and then Hoodang and Nuada on the one are predominantly my blue 666.
Imagine like we normally, they probably normally give you the numbers and hey, you can look for, like from a marketing standpoint, that would be a smart thing to do. Here's your serial number you can look for because it builds anticipation, but I probably wouldn't give someone that number. I'd skip that email. Wow. Good for you, man. Well, playing is great on there. So whatever it is working.
Thank you. Yeah. So those, and I love those guitars. And the guys that run the company are really nice. And funnily enough, the exotic guitars seem to be spreading all over Musicians Institute because a lot of the other teachers there, Dean Brown and Alan Hines, they're all playing exotic guitars as well. So we're seeing a lot of them around, And then amp wise, the main for the live stuff, it was my Bogner. I have a Bogner Shiva. It's a 20th anniversary amp that they built for me in a custom purple, which is very nice of them. And it's got EL34, so it's kind of like a Marshall kind of sound to it. But it's also got a really, really good clean channel on it. Much cleaner than I was expecting. So that's the main amp. And then I did a little, for Hoodang and for Nuada, I did some overdubs with a Fender Deluxe. But that's pretty much it. And then effects-wise, I used some of the Eventide stuff because I've got an H9. So I use some of their effects for like, what do you call it? Like a Leslie speaker kind of thing.
Do you usually have some sort of like a distortion, not distortion, like an overdrive or something on there?
Yeah, sometimes if I want a little more than the amp's giving me, I really like Wampler pedals. So I use the Pinnacle Deluxe and I use the, what's that purple one called? I think it's the Dual Fusion, those two. And also, and I might have used an OCD, which is ironic, a full tone pedal at one point as well. But but mostly it's the amp that's doing the work.
It's doing the work. That's cool, man. It sounds great.
Good relationship with Bogner. Reinhold is an eccentric character, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
He's a tone genius, so you can't question that,
Hey, I wanted to talk about two of the songs. I guess my two favorite that I liked, which was Nuada on the one, and then Bayard's Stomp, and I like it more now that I know it's about a French magical horse. How can you not?
Almost said that with a straight face.
How can you not? That sounds like there was. I'm just throwing this out there, like maybe an alcohol-related incident or something. Whatever. Is weed legal in California now? It is, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That's what they do here. You remember when we were kids? Like, well, I don't know. It was in England. You could drink at like 16.
Oh yeah. Well, we used to drink at 14 because we just looked older. So But and honestly, it's really. I think we talked about this on
your initials.
The last time I was on the show, yeah, probably. Ironically, the damage done from the alcohol means I can't remember what we talked about. But but back in the day, I don't think I ever got asked for ID until I moved to the States.
Wow, that must have been flattering. You're like,
it's pretty relaxed.
I love this country. Yeah, it's probably like here when you turn 18, 21, I guess it is now. You want to go out and have a beer with your buddies or something. It's a big deal, but I don't assume in England it's like not a big deal, right?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No.
Well, the new thing is here, like my daughter, she turned 18, like the next day she got her weed card.
Oh, right.
It was like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's funny. I was never really a big weed person. I didn't really do it for me. I think because the culture I just grew up in much more of a drinking culture.
Weed's not a big thing there at all. Like Ann told me it was definitely not. I mean, she's from a tiny little town. Maybe I don't know, but she said it was never really. It was more like really bad guy, not bad guys, but more of the rougher people might be smoking weed. Everybody just drank.
don't know. I mean, it was around a little bit, but it was always, there's such a pub culture there, or at least when I was growing up, you know, and so that was the drinking was such a big part of that, you know. I just think it's culturally a little different. I mean, definitely here though. I mean, yeah, weed is everywhere, you know, just go for a drive with your windows down and there you go, you know.
It's funny, when we went to Colorado a few years back, we just literally come from the airport and my wife's like, oh my God, on the highway. It smells like weed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about Nuada on the One. I really like the song. It's like an old school funk song. As I was listening to that, it could have been like the soundtrack to like a mid 1970s movies where you got these car chase going down. It was really funky, you know, great groove, loads of action. It keeps moving. The bass was funking it up. You got a lot of, you know, like bow chicka wow wow, you know, guitar fills. Really great. You have horn lines. Yeah. Which I thought was really cool.
Well, that was specific because after I joined, because most of the writing I was doing had my trio in mind, which is just guitar, bass, and drums. The band Catatonic, which is, by the way, it's Michael Salenza on drums, Chris Coulter on bass, Jeff Snow on sax at that point, and now we've added a keyboard player. But that I was writing with that band in mind, so I was writing specifically for a horn and guitar line played together, you know, and because Jeff's a great sax player, you know,
he sure as hell is, man.
Yeah,
that was phenomenal.
You know, and it's funny you say that about the car chases and stuff, because I always loved, you know, like French Connection. And
that's right.
So
that's exactly
probably in my mind somewhere, you know.
Great. I mean, but that was this song rocked. A few questions. One non-musical. The graphics for that, it was like it looks like a giant cat statue. What was that?
Well, it's actually.
Wait a minute. Egyptian mythology. It was fucking Sphinx or something, right?
Well, close. That's supposed to be that's an idol that was supposed to be a depiction of Nuada, the Irish king, and the myth has it that he lost an arm in battle, and it was replaced by a silver arm. And so, if you look closely at that image, he's clutching his silver arm to say,
"Okay,
got a silver arm. You better get out my way." So that's what I did. So I just you know, grabbed that image because I thought, well, that's kind of cool. But it, you know, it could be a large cat as well. I love cats, so I'll go with that.
You're like way too intellectual for me, Rob. I really.
I know a lot of people that would probably disagree with that.
It's just like I'm like, you know, humbled here. I feel like I'm at a like, you know, like a history lesson, and I know nothing, so it's like perfect.
If you've been in the pubs of England when we were 14, you would not have felt the same way.
What was nice on that is you did I got to hear your rhythm playing on that one, and it was great. It was really nice hearing that. And then in the intro, again, that funky intro, you have the sax and the guitar. You're basically trading solos, and you got pretty lengthy sections there. And I just was curious how you put that whole thing together, how that came together. And you're doing a lot of stuff in there. There's some shredding, and it was great. Just the back and forth. I like that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, that the template for the song was exactly how it went down live in terms of the length of the song and the parts. And those solos were much longer than we usually play on that song. You know, for whatever reason at that gig, we were both kind of into it. And so the solos went long. And so I decided for the recording, you know, well, I'm thinking Nuada on the One's not going to be, you know, not going to be looking for any radio airplay anytime soon, so I'm not really too worried about the length of it, you know. So so I kept those parts as long, but I overdubbed some other guitar stuff, and that sax solo is from the gig. I mean, that's what I was talking about.
That's really cool.
Take a solo and move it to somewhere else, you know. That's what Jeff played on the gig, and I it's funny though because I sent it to him and I said, look, I'm going to put a version of this together. How do you feel about me using this solo from the gig? You know, and he was like, oh, I'll listen to it, you know, and he was like, yeah, I guess you can use it if you want to, you know, because he's super critical of his playing as well. You know?
Great. I mean,
it was great.
It's not, the song's 5 minutes and 10 seconds. It's not like.
No, I guess that's not too long.
No, I don't think so at all, man. I just have a question. That first horn solo, was that 2 tracks of horns or one? It was kind of hard.
No, it's one, because the guitar's doubling the melody parts, so the guitar and the sax are linked up. And then when he starts his solo, I put some effects on it, put a little delay and stuff on certain parts that make it, you know, kind of a little bit more cinematic. You know, I also did some stuff in the stereo spectrum where I moved stuff around and you know, and put some panning in there to try and make it. You know, because I'm always thinking about, if you're going to play an instrumental, if someone's going to sit down and listen to an instrumental, if they're not necessarily a jazz fan or versed in instrumental music, I like to try and put things throughout the song that keep it interesting, you know, for the listener. Not necessarily like filling it up with a load of crap.
But you want to try to engage people in as many different ways as possible.
And like, even in that song, like I knew it was going to be a funk song, but you know, I grew up loving bands like Steely Dan and bands that I feel like there was such attention to detail in the composition. So even though that's a funk song, you know, it has a couple of modulations in it where the key changes and a couple of different parts. Just because I'm trying to think, if I was listening to it just as, you know, as a music fan, I need something in there that's going to keep me engaged. You know, so that's kind of the thinking behind it.
Great song. I really liked it. It's really cool. This is not what you usually do.
Well, it has been in the past, because I've played in tons of funk bands and soul bands. So I have done a lot of that in the past. But in recent years, I've been writing more for the trio. So that's why I've kind of gone away from that a little bit. But you know, over the past few years, that there were other bands that had horns and stuff that I've written for. So, but it's fun to be coming back to that style. I've got a new one that I'm working on right now that is another guitar and horn duet song. Cool. So yeah, now I'm sort of back in that framework. It's fun.
I think you did a great job. I think it suited you. It was great, and I'd love to hear more stuff like that from you, man.
That song gets a good response live. It's quite high energy live. Which is fun.
It's such energy. How could it not? It's kicking, man. Bayard Stomp, again, that's the one with the French magical horse. Really swings, cool groove from your rhythm section. I was curious how you got the guitar tones in there and the sounds.
Well, the Bogner was, I mean, you know, it was so loud. I turned it up so loud just because I could for once, you know, and because it was in the isolation booth.
Why? Because I can. I love that. Sorry, that was just classic.
It's tricky though. I like to feel the amp. I like to be standing next to the amp, and when the amp's in the isolation booth, there's almost a slight latency to it. So it's odd to be playing live and not standing next to the amp for me personally. But anyway, I got over it. But yeah, that was just the Bogner cranked, and then for the middle section, which as I said earlier, we improvised. That's just the clean channel of the Bogner. And then on my Eventide unit, I programmed in a univibe kind of sound, like a rotating speaker sound. So I just happened to hit that. Didn't know I was going to use that, but I happened to turn that on, and then that whole section kind of erupted from that. You know, so
sounds great, man. Really cool. Did you want to talk about the other songs, Lead Beat Beat or?
Yeah, Meat Bat, actually.
Meat Bat, sorry. Meat Beat, sorry. That's just...
these names, I mean, come on, right? So I wanted to have like a fun power trio kind of song. And to me, actually that came about because I'd been messing around with this scale. I just wrote a lesson for Premier Guitar Magazine on this scale that I've been messing around with recently. And it's a sort of a variation of the pentatonic scale. Just in case anybody listening wants to go off and have some fun with a new scale, right? It's basically a Mixolydian pentatonic, right? So which is like
the Garland scale. Is that? I think it's what we refer to it as.
It's like root, third, fourth, fifth, flat 7. That's the scale. And somebody once said to me, "How would you describe the sound of the scale?" And I said, it's like George Harrison having coffee with Eric Johnson, and then John McLaughlin calls in for a muffin.
Wait a minute. All right, wait a minute. Root, third, fourth, fifth, and so it's basically the pentatonic, except it's a major third instead of a minor third.
Yeah, or you could think of it as basically, I think of it as a dominant 7, except as a well, because that's the sound of it. It's like a 7 sus4 kind of sound. It's really a cool sound. You should mess around with it a little bit.
I will, but I dominant 7 sus4. Okay, all right, great. I'm just all right.
But because it has the interval between the third and the fourth, and it doesn't have a second, it gives it an Eastern kind of quality to it, and that's where you get your George Harrison and your John McLaughlin kind of sound. But I'll send you the lesson when it's published, and you can check it out.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Thank you.
But anyway,
I feel so proud of myself that I even knew that I was able to say it's a pentatonic scale with a. I'm like, honestly, this is like. I feel like I just brought home an A to my mom on a spelling test. I'm like, honestly, I'm so happy.
Gold star, Craig. Gold star.
Yes, that's how I feel, man. I digress. Go ahead, man. So you developed the Garland scale.
So the riff of the song is from that scale, and to me, it sounds a little bit like a lost Led Zeppelin riff. It has that kind of quality to it, right? So that's where the lead comes from. Meat Bat is just me being cheeky, British, and rude, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But
cheeky,
anyway,
British, and rude.
So the scale is the main riff, and then for the B section, I wanted it to be completely different. So I orchestrated this pad sound and again, this was live. So trying to pull this off live is not easy because the chord voicings are really wide. And but the pad that I created adds an orchestration, so it's almost like a string section comes out. So that's a really nice contrast to the main riff, And then the middle riff is probably the most chaotic, heavy riff I've ever written. It's just nuts, when we rehearsed that first, we were all laughing about how ridiculous it is. So that's.
Hey, so man, you got to have fun with your music.
Yeah.
Man. If you're
my trio is the epitome of fun. I wish we played more. We haven't played much in the past year at all. We have a show coming up in March, which I'm really excited about, but
very cool.
We haven't played much at all. But we always have a great time, and there's a real fun chemistry amongst the three of us, So
that's great, man.
Yeah. So that song turned out pretty well. Again, the solo is okay. I mean, I would love to go back and do it again, but it was live, so it is what it is,
Man, it sounds great. You don't need to beat yourself up. No, it sounds great. Everything was. I enjoyed all of the songs, man, especially those two, Nuada on the one and Bayard Stomp. Let me tell people where they could find them and the best place to go. First of all, Rob's got a really good website. It's robgarland.net. His last name is Garland, Garland. Check that out. Everything, all roads lead to robgarland.net, basically, for anything Rob does, his True Fire stuff, his new music. And if you are on Spotify, you could support Rob and his music by following him on Spotify. So, enter Rob Garland and just follow him. And there you go. Also, if you're not on Spotify, you can check out and buy his music on Apple, Amazon, and SoundCloud and CD Baby.
CD Baby, and Bandcamp is another one, which offers like high quality file downloads and stuff.
Yeah, I think they give you FLAC if you want it.
Yeah. If you want some FLAC.
Yeah, if you want some FLAC, go to CD Baby. And that's it, man. I really appreciate. Thank you for putting this stuff out, and anybody that's putting out music nowadays, my hat's off to them, because it's not easy. It takes a lot of discipline and courage and, money and time and all that good stuff. And like you said, it's not like you're aiming to get one of these on the radio. So this is truly a labor of love, man. He did a great job as always. Well,
and speaking of labor of love, I just want to give you a shout out and say that how much I appreciate the support on the show, but also, I'm such a fan of this show, and I've met a lot of your guests. I already knew some of them. Some I've made new friends because of your show. And, everybody says the same thing, and that is that it's not like other guitar interviews. We get to talk about our lives, and you have a genuine interest in it. And I think it's very motivational for people. So, thumbs up for you for doing this, because we all, as fans, love the show. So.
Man, thank you. That is extremely kind of you. And the check is in the mail, Rob. Hey, man, anything else that you want to tell people about?
No, I don't.
Where are you going to be playing?
I'm heading back to Truefire this year to do two new courses, down in their studio. So those will be coming out later this year. So that'll be some fun. But no, just if anybody would like to hit me up for a Skype lesson,
lessons, tracks, production. What else?
You can if you email me at rob@robgarland.net. We can schedule a lesson. Just don't go to rob@robgarland.com because that's a wedding photographer.
Well, I mean, unless you want wedding photos.
Well, you don't want me taking you wedding photos.
Man, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You're a good guy. I'm glad we got to connect as always. And, I'll see you when you're down here, and I'm looking forward to that. Support Rob's music. Go to robgarland.net. He's a great guy. He's a really good player. Really good player, and he's very bright too. I mean, he came up with the Garland scale. I don't think we need to say anything more.
Thank you, Craig.
Man, thank you. It's always a pleasure. And all right, everybody, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thanks to Rob Garland for spending time with us. Please check out Rob and his great new music at robgarland.net, and follow him on Spotify, Rob Garland. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.